Hi everybody, I'm Greg Shimizi and we're here at the Hamptons International Film Festival at the wonderful Maidstone, which is a great place right at 207 Main Street here in East Hampton. Great place. And they're a host of the film festival. And we're having interviews with filmmakers, so you're going to get a good glimpse as to what is available at the festival. So come on in, we're going to have a look. Praying for Armageddon. That's an interesting title. I'm here with the two principals, the directors.
Yes. Tony Hessenshea.
And Michael Rowley.
So Tony and Michael.
Tonya.
Tonya. Oh,
Yes.
Tonya. It's even more exotic. Very nice.
Thank you.
So this movie, hearing a lot of good things about it, Praying for Armageddon, it sounds like a real, something it's not exactly a yak fest, but it's something that is a serious movie. And it's U.S. premiere, documentary, from Norway, Sweden, Germany, and Finland, all my favorite countries in one. It's terrific. And it's a U.S. premiere. So tell me a little bit about the movie and what motivated you to make it.
Do you want me to hold this or
Yeah.
no?
Look
Yes.
at the camera.
Okay. Yeah. So Praying for Armageddon is a film that looks at the fundamentalist evangelical movement in the U.S. that is pushing to speed up the Armageddon prophecy. And we're looking at how they actually have real political power in the U.S. but also internationally.
So you think they're speeding up the process?
Well, they see it as their responsibility to sort of act out God's will and to fulfill the Armageddon prophecy in the Bible.
Well, that's not too encouraging, is it?
Well, it's pretty dangerous considering that they do have real political power and that they have a lot of power from the grassroots through megachurch empires and up through the political system in the U.S.
That's amazing. And it's a mysterious thing because, people are always, getting ready for the end of the world, but not too soon, you know what I mean? I still have student loans I'm still paying off. But, it's really something. And it's devoid of any religious affiliation because it's so widespread, isn't it?
Well, we are looking at the fundamentalist evangelical movement in this film. So that is, it is a religious movement indeed.
And it's a common theme.
If it's a common theme, well, it is a wide international movement. And here in the States, it also makes up an important voter bloc for the Republican Party.
Really?
Yes.
That's something.
Yeah, I was actually raised in this environment, so I can speak to it. I grew up in a small town in Texas. Both of my parents were evangelical pastors, and very much intertwined with our identity was a belief that the end of the world could come at any moment, and it wasn't something that we should fear or dread, but perhaps even look forward to. And so once I came out of this worldview and understood all of the players involved whenever it comes to foreign policy in the Middle East, but also policy in the U.S., that actually is feeding into this prophetic vision of the end of the world. It was very
like the rapture, right? Everybody caught up in the rapture. I know there was a cartoon I saw recently, and it showed something like, I'm not worried about the rapture, I live out in East Hampton, it's like that, which is probably one of the godless things you could say, but basically, and that movement is becoming more and more, there's more energy behind it, right?
Yeah, it's very widespread. I mean, you look at many political leaders in the U.S. up to the presidency have to have this voting bloc behind them in order to secure their nomination or sometimes the win. So it's a widespread belief. It's very common amongst the evangelical community. You see it broadcast internationally through televangelists and pastors all around the world. So
there's a lot of money behind it too.
That's something that, is very interesting. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of political influence, so it's something that should be taken seriously. It's not just a fantasy of a fringe group. It's actually becoming more and more mainstream.
So if you were to take some caution, if you had to warn the viewers of the movie or the general public, what would you say to them as opposed to, just allowing it to blossom? What would you say?
Well, I think first of all, I just want to say we're extremely excited to be here at the Hamptons. We've had a very strong international festival run, and this is our U.S. premiere. And
You're happy that you're here. It's really terrific.
yeah. So, and with what is going on here in the States politically, but also in Israel and Palestine right now, this film really could not be any more relevant.
You're absolutely right. I think that, years ago it was kind of always put on the back burner. It wasn't, but now people are more conscious, and they see it in the schools. They see it, with the pandemic, not being able to go to church, organized church, and dealing with that. So it's, it's a story that had to be told, and you're doing a very good job doing that. So I'm glad to see that. So the film, just getting all the pieces together, was it difficult for you?
It's been a long journey that started over 8 years ago.
Wow.
So, yes, so we started before Trump and Pence and COVID, just to
So
give a
from
little
the day
perspective.
you started to today, it's a world of difference, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really, and the direction that you think it's going, is it simmering down or is it getting more steam behind it? What do you think?
Yeah, I refer to the situation as a pressure cooker, and we're seeing it surface and bubble over and explode in all different places in our world. The Middle East, Israel, Palestine, also here in the U.S. So if there's not something to take the pressure off of that pressure cooker, then I'm afraid it's going to get worse.
What recommendations would you have? As a keen observer of this whole thing, what do you think would be the way out?
Well, I think number one, it's important for us to know what is going on. So that's what we're doing with this film. We hope to raise awareness so we can have like a proper debate about what kind of forces are behind the politics and the policies that we are, establishing in our democracies.
Is there one political group, or is it globalists, or is it the religious right? What's behind it?
Well, I think that the fundamentalists that we follow in the film is on the religious right side of things, and we are focusing on the groups in the U.S., but it is also an international movement that we're bringing attention to.
So there is a common theme. There's a worldwide brand of this, right?
Yeah, in a sense, it's really about religious ideology being mixed with political power and will. And so whenever you mix those two, in our view, bad things can happen, and there's evidence that they are already happening.
So what happened with the separation of church and state? What happened there?
That's a good question. That is a good question.
I think the founding fathers originally had that in mind. I'm getting the rap sign from the guy behind the camera. It's his last day, so I'm going to acknowledge it. But it's wonderful having you here. You have a wonderful festival. We're honored that you're here. Sounds like a great movie. Again, it is Praying for Armageddon, which is very neat. U.S. premiere documentary feature, Norwegian, Swedish, and German, Finland, and 97 wonderful minutes. Bring popcorn, and you'll learn something. So go see the movie, Praying for Armageddon. We highly recommend it. Well, everybody, I'm here with Jennifer Esposito, and she's a remarkable person, writer, director, promoter of this great movie, Fresh Kills. And we're very proud of this movie. Being a Suffolk County Film Commissioner, it's one of our picks. So we're very happy about that. Now, so Jennifer, welcome to the film festival.
Thank you.
And she's a resident of East Hampton, which is great. So here you are. Tell us about the film, first of all.
Yes. Well, it takes place, we follow the young woman of this family that happens to be a mafia family. And it's a look at that world that we've seen so many times, but through the young woman's point of view. So as she discovers who her family is and what her role is supposed to be in it, and the discovery of whether or not she chooses this. And you really don't have a choice in the matter. So that's basically what's it about. If you go a little deeper, it's really about finding a voice in a world that tells you not to have one.
And as far as equity, that world, does it provide equity for females as well as males? No.
No. I mean, you're just kind of born into a slot, and
You have to be a good girl.
yeah,
And cooperate.
you cooperate, be a mom, a wife, and if you want anything different, kind of not
And
happening.
they actually choose who to marry. It's like a.
I don't know if they choose, at least the people that I saw around me, I don't know if they're chosen marriages, but you have to imagine when you're looking for a spouse, there's not many people who are not in that world that want to step foot into that situation. So your choices become limited.
And your point in making this movie was what? Because you were fascinated by that world, or?
I grew up seeing a lot of it around me, but it was more about what I said earlier, is about finding a voice in a world that tells you not to have one, because I felt that way. I've been an actress for 25 years, and I just felt that I was very pigeonholed and put into a box and a slot that I didn't agree with, and that I knew was capable of doing more, and I thought, well, then do it.
And you did it, which is terrific, and it's really remarkable. And the whole idea, the actors are terrific. I mean, you handpicked them, and they really did a very, very good job. And was it difficult to put everything together, to organize everything, and to have it shot, and you wrote the screenplay as well.
Yeah, I wrote it, I directed it, I produced it, I'm in it, I paid for it. Yeah, it was, you know what, hard, challenging. Not hard, but challenging. There's just so many elements to it, but what I found hard, and what I still find hard, is the lack of really care for female-driven stories and being a female behind the camera. That is something that is just, it's just not, I don't want to tolerate it anymore. It's just
No, you shouldn't.
It's just unfortunate, but like begging for money, that's why I eventually funded it myself.
Oh boy.
It shouldn't have to be.
No. And it's really awful, but it's women like you that keep hammering against it. It's really something. But I think that the future, like, where do you see this place? The theatrical release, right?
I would love a theatrical release.
Do you have a distributor?
I don't.
So the people at home, you have a checkbook there. Let's get behind this great movie.
Thank you.
Anyway, so this is your first film festival?
It's my first film, but we premiered at Tribeca.
Oh, great,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But this is your hometown
This is
film.
my home, yeah.
Right. So
Absolutely.
support the movie. When is it going to show now?
It's tonight at 5, and then Tuesday at 8, I think. But they're both sold out, so I'm very
That's just
proud.
it.
Yeah.
You should be. To have a movie and not have anything and anybody go to it, it's terrible.
Exactly.
All that popcorn goes to waste. It's horrible.
Exactly. We don't want that.
Well, we welcome you. I think it's really amazing, and we look forward to not only this project but your future projects.
Right.
So what's on deck? I mean, not that I want to tip anything off, but do you have anything?
Yeah, there's 3 projects that I'm circling and working on, and writing one of them. 2 of them I have an outline on. One of them is about getting the IP from a person who was very famous. So there's a lot of things in the works. It's just one day at a time.
I know it's a difficult thing, but if you're out there, support her financially, support her with distribution, and go see the movie. Hi everybody, I'm here with Christopher Zala, who is the director, screenwriter, the motivating force behind this great movie, Radical. Welcome, Christopher. We're so happy that you're here at the festival.
Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So this movie, all in Spanish, it's a world narrative feature, U.S. It's in Spanish, my favorite language. So it is something that will just give the viewers just a thumbnail of what it's about.
It's based on a true story that was the cover article at Wired magazine in 2012 about a teacher who all he wanted to do in life was to be the teacher that he had that inspired him to be an educator, and he was failing miserably. Wasn't reaching his students, they didn't care, they were bored, and he actually ended up having a nervous breakdown. And in an act of desperation, he moved back to the town he was from, which at this time was in the midst of a drug war. It's called El Basural, which basically means the trash dump.
And this is what country now?
Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Matamoros, Mexico, on the border of Texas. And in a fit of desperation, went online, found a TED Talk by a guy named Sugata Mitra about this new kind of teaching and learning, which was the teacher's not necessary, no teacher.
How cool.
Child-directed education. So on a whim, he goes, he implements it, and in 1 year, a bit of a spoiler, but the magazine's article's out there. In 1 year, he takes the class from the very bottom of the barrel nationally in terms of the tests to the absolute top.
Oh, wow.
Including one girl who's, these are 12-year-olds, who gets the highest score in the nation.
Oh my God.
And that's the easy headline, but to me, the dramatic question that interests me as a filmmaker is, how did he do that? It's not the fact that he did it. It's not the results. What was required to get that kind of turnaround in a classroom in 1 year?
That's like the golden key of education.
Yeah.
It is.
And it turns out if you see kids, if you value them, if you recognize them, if you're interested with them and what they want to learn about, that is actually a seed that can grow.
Well, and that's a formula for good parenting too.
It is. I'm learning that now. I have a 9-year-old.
Oh, wow. But this is really something. It's an exciting film, and you tell it so well. But what brought you to the film industry? How did you get here?
I was a kid I grew up kind of all over the world, but I went to high school in Kentucky, I went to college in Ohio, and in Ohio I had film studies classes that I took. I thought they were going to be easy, the break from all the paper writing I had to do.
Right.
Little did I know I had to write big papers in the filmmaking class, film studies classes. But I discovered what filmmaking really was, and ultimately that there is a single voice behind it. There's a creator, a maker. I think you watch movies and you think I've just presented this thing. You don't realize, especially with movies that really affect you, like, wow, this is one person's. And to me, it was just such a awesome challenge.
And you've always been a storyteller, right?
Yeah, kind of. I got some Irish in me,
Oh, yeah.
we do the Blarney thing. So right out of college, I moved to New York City. I started working on film sets and didn't learn it there. And I worked for a huge producer as an assistant, didn't learn it there. And ultimately, I went to film school at Columbia, and I learned it there.
Great school.
Great school.
Terrific. My son went to NYU. So
Okay, my wife went to NYU, law school.
I think recently he graduated in 1997. I just finished paying his loans. So.
I'm still paying my loans, and I graduated from grad school in 1997.
Unbelievable. So anyway, the actors that you have in it are terrific.
Yeah, so Eugenio Derbez is the lead star. You might know him. He was in Coda last year, which won the Best Picture. And he's the biggest movie star in the history of Latin America. There's no other way to put it.
Is he easy to work with?
Incredible. The most generous, giving. Can I come up with more synonyms for generous? I don't know. But just the exact opposite of diva, even though he's such a star. I have a video. I couldn't find him on set one day. And we were on a rooftop, and I went down on the street to look for him. And I found a line of about 1,000 people waiting in line to take selfies with him.
Oh my God!
And he took a selfie with everyone by the time we were done with that day.
It's like my brother.
But yeah, and it's an inspiring movie. It's an uplifting movie. It's a funny movie. His background is comedy, so we leave a little bit of that in. But it's a very moody. The whole audience is
crying. But it has a great look, shot beautifully. And you shot it on film or video?
These days, it's now all digital video. The old film cameras are now the digital cameras, and so I have a former DP that is a dear collaborator of mine, and he told me one day, we shot our first movie, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance, in Super 35, in part because we couldn't afford all the lighting equipment, and we needed a big format that would get a lot of light at night. We're doing a lot of night stuff. And he told me way back then, Chris, someday I will call you and tell you when film is dead. And he called me in about 2009, I think, is when he called me, 2010.
Well, we've been doing the film festival since 1996.
Okay.
And one of the prizes for the filmmakers was this title company would actually give
Duarte?
Yeah,
Was it
Duarte, and this other company and Kodak supplied the film stock. And the students were like, oh my God, this would be like the greatest thing. You mean I get how many cans of film?
Yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking about that. I said, geez, I said, with the, the video and all this other stuff coming in, it's going to be a time when this is going to be like, I have a buggy whip for you, that type of. But it's amazing how quickly everything is accelerated. And you get a 9-year-old with a brand new iPhone, and they're filmmakers right now. So it's great. But I'm very encouraged. This is a terrific movie, radical. Go see it. And it's going to be at the East Hampton UA.
We're screening today at 2:30 in East Hampton, and tomorrow at 11:30 in Southampton.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, it won the festival favorite award at Sundance this year, which is
a hard thing to get.
The top audience award out of all 111 movies. They voted us #1, so it's a crowd
Number
pleaser.
one,
Come
go see number one. Why see number two?
I had to get that in there,
No, you have to. You have to promote. And your next project, what? Do you have anything planned?
I got a bunch of things that I've been working on. As I might have mentioned, I've been living in Guatemala the last 8 years, just moved back to New York, and the big reason I went to Guatemala was I felt like my career had kind of gone off track, and I needed to rediscover the love. And I did.
Country.
I did. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
So did you buy property now?
I did.
Good move. That's good. Very good. I applaud you. I envy you, I tell you. Well, anyway, we're here with Christopher Zala, and the movie is radical. Go see it. We highly recommend it. I'm here with Noah Pritzker. Welcome, Noah. And the film is Ex-Husbands.
Yes.
That's a very sensitive topic here in the Hamptons.
Yes, I'm sure. A lot of them kicking around.
I know a lot of ex-wives here with their divorce settlements that are pretty hefty,
Okay, yeah.
So what possessed you to make? So you're the not only the director, you're also the screenwriter.
Yes. Yeah.
So what made you pick this subject and to make this movie?
Yeah, I had written this character, Peter Pierce, who's played by Griffin Dunn, who is sort of a man in crisis in his 60s. He's been left by his wife. His children are grown up. His mother has passed away, and his father is not doing so well. And so he's sort of trying to find his identity as a man in his 60s who used to be defined by all of these relationships. And he's sort of desperate to reconnect with his adult children who are, trying to go off on start their own lives. And a lot of the movie takes place in Mexico. He follows them to a bachelor party in Tulum.
That's cool. He went to the bachelor party to cheer himself up, or?
He went to the bachelor party, I think, to cheer himself up and to be around his family. And they're not thrilled that he's followed them there.
Wow, that's great. And it's very well acted and beautifully shot. I mean, you did a great job. And it was shot on film or video?
No, we shot on the Alexa.
Sony.
Yeah, and it was the Ari Alexa, and my cinematographer Alfonso Herrera Salcido is a Mexican cinematographer, and so he was incredibly helpful navigating our shoot.
He did a brilliant job.
He's a super talented cinematographer.
So is this your first major event?
This is my for the film.
Yeah.
We had our premiere a week and a half ago in San Sebastian in Spain, which was
not too bad, not too shabby.
Not too shabby, yeah. And then we had a sneak peek in Woodstock last week, and this is our North American premiere.
Now your training, did you go to film school?
I did. I went to film school in New York at Columbia, and then I learned a ton there. I was focused on screenwriting. And then after,
Now, would you recommend that for young people to follow that route?
I think it's such a individual. I think everyone has their own path. It was very helpful to me. I met a lot of friends there and a lot of great professors. But the older I get, the less inclined I am to give other people advice.
I know, especially with the technology, it changes.
Yeah.
We have a 9-year-old with an iPhone, and he's a filmmaker.
Yeah,
so,
he probably doesn't need film school.
No,
yeah,
no,
I did though.
And I think that I agree that a lot of people, if you do it, if you make the film, you go through the whole thing. I mean, that in itself is
it's a film school in and of itself.
I wouldn't trust neurosurgery that way, but film.
No, your neurosurgeon, you want him to have gone to school. Yeah, no, we're not neurosurgeons.
No, but very creative. It's a great thing, and the fact that you're here in the Hamptons at the film festival, and we really are proud that you're here with us, and the movie is being very well received. Just on the premiere of it's not a premiere, but the actual the buzz on the street, as they say, is very good.
Yeah,
and it's a good thing. And what future projects do you anticipate for yourself?
Well, there's some relief that the writer's strike seems to be ended. So hopefully we can all get back to work writing. And then I have a few projects that I've been working on for a long time, and it's a long road to actually making Ex-Husbands. So I try to not put all of my eggs in any one basket because it feels like the process is not linear.
But I guarantee you, the merchandising on Ex-Husbands must be terrific.
We should get like a Griffin
like the
bobblehead.
T-shirt or something. Some guy that's really like down and out, right in front of like the East Hampton Theater with the damn thing. It would be terrific. You'd sell 1 million shirts here, no doubt about it. But I'm really proud of you. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
And I look forward to see you down the road. And have fun with the screenings.
Thank you.
And the most important thing is that we have a very active studio audience here. The movie audience.
Yeah.
And the question and answers to the filmmakers are terrific.
Yeah.
I mean,
good. I'm looking forward to
have you
be
up
there with some of our casters in town as well.
We had years ago, because we've been doing this since '96. We had Fay Ray from the original King Kong. And she, was I don't know how old. She must have been in her late '90s or whatever. And she showed up. And she actually received questions from the audience that, what was it like working with King Kong? Like as if he was like, Robert De Niro. And she, went through the whole bit. He was a very good lover, I think she said, which was or something like that. But we welcome you, Noah Pritzker, right?
Yeah, Pritzker.
Pritzker.
It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one.
Names,
But it's a great name. But keep an eye out for him. He's terrific. And go see the movie Ex-Husbands.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We're lucky to have Irene Taylor, director. And did you write it as well? No.
So it's a documentary, so it's not written, but it's kind of pieced together.
Right.
No sit-down interviews. It's very experiential. You're going through the lives of 6 people, 6 different characters, and the trees they are obsessed with.
And the trees are a character unto themselves, right?
Yeah, I'd say trees are sort of the vehicle through which we meet all these people. And I think what I have come to know in my own life is that trees are actually touch points between me and the people in my life, and they're something we all have in common.
It's true, and sometimes when you're in the forest, you actually feel the trees are breathing, right?
It's said that the wind gave voice to the trees, because if it weren't for the wind, we would often forget they're there because they're so still and quiet.
Right. Excellent. So, what brought you to this project?
A few years ago, just before the pandemic started, HBO reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in making an unusual narrative for a documentary, somehow structured around trees.
Wow.
And so I took some inspiration from some books that I've read, and I decided to make a film that is about people, but what connected them was their own relationship to an individual tree or a forest or a craft. And so we have a bonsai artist, we have a still photographer who's obsessed with traveling the world to photograph ancient trees that are 4,000, 5,000 years old. We have a Japanese family who grew a bonsai tree in the Second World War at an internment camp, and only to find it stolen a couple of years ago. And so we follow that.
Did they find it?
Well, you have to watch the film to find out. See, lots of surprises.
She did very well with that trick question. Thank you.
And then we also tell the story of a woman who has a family tree and some surprising twists and turns in that film. And I am also in the film. I am a character along with my son and my mother, telling the story of my father who was dying over the course of the film. And he was a 6'4" giant, and so I liken him to the giant trees in my backyard. And so I was actually trying to save the trees in my backyard from ivy infestation.
You're from Oregon, right?
And I live in Oregon, yep. So it's kind of a poetic film. It's definitely not literal in some ways, but it's of course real life. So you're dealing with the very real situations of people in British Columbia, people in Oregon, people in upstate New York. One of the stories takes place in Westchester County. So
it's amazing. And trees are so integral to our lives. I mean, it's here on the East End, when they had the hurricane in 1938, came through and devastated all of the trees, all the oak trees and pine trees. So the idea of what they mean to a community is unbelievable, because you have them one moment and they're fragile. It's not a thing that's something. But it's terrific, and it's East Coast premiere, this motion picture, so you got to go out there and see it.
Yes, so it'll be today in Sag Harbor, and it will be on HBO, all the Max platforms in December, starting in December. So we're doing film festivals right now, and then it will be widely available in a few months. Yeah.
At a neighborhood theater near you. Well, at HBO is terrific. The penetration will be colossal.
Yeah.
But your next project, are you thinking about your next project?
I do have I have a film coming out sometime next year on a very well-known musician, and I have another HBO project coming out also in the next 2 years that we're finishing up now. And yes, I've got some other projects in development.
Now you're training. Did you go to film school?
So I got into documentary through through documentary photography and journalism. So I was just talking with a student, and I was explaining to him that I studied journalism, not film. But I went to NYU, so I took a lot of film classes, but not really. Oh, did you? Yeah. And then I studied journalism again at the graduate level. And so I'm really interested in real characters, stories that are rooted in truth.
As a child, you were always a storyteller, or?
As a child, I was the child of two deaf parents, so I grew up interpreting for my parents a lot and summarizing what they said to other people. So I, at a very young age, started, telling their stories when they could not communicate with someone. So I think that's probably a big part of it. And then I also have always loved photography. So I got into filmmaking, initially filming, shooting my own films.
That's terrific. Well, that's an amazing story. Maybe one day you'll do your own story.
I actually have made 2 films about my family, and this film, Trees and Other Entanglements, is the 3rd part of a trilogy I've done about my mother and father. So
wow.
One part of Trees and Other Entanglements is my own story with my family.
Incredible.
So,
lovely.
Yeah.
We wish you a lot of luck. I'm here with Margaret Olin, and she's from Norway, a lovely country, and this movie is called Songs of Earth. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's terrific. It's wonderful to see somebody that has so much enthusiasm, nice smiling face here. It's terrific. And the movie looks, it's U.S. premiere, documentary feature, and 90 minutes, Norwegian. So tell us a little bit about the movie. What motivated you to make it?
I have known for years that one day I will make a documentary about our deep connection to nature, thinking that nature is a language we no longer can read, and that nature is a part of us and we are a part of nature. And in our time, we are surrounded by stories about the climate crisis and the nature crisis, and that is important. Scientists and activists and journalists, politicians bringing the facts to the table and the statistics. But I wanted to make a more poetic film and remind us why we should take care of nature. And then I had to go home to my parents. My father grew up in the most scenic, beautiful valley in Norway. It's surrounded by the biggest inland glacier in Europe.
Oh, wow.
And he has been a wanderer, like he's hiking the wildest mountain every time he's available, every time he can. So I asked my father if I could walk in his footprints or his footsteps. And he said, yes, but you should follow me for 1 year if you want to experience how he experienced being so much outside.
Are you an only child? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a sister. She lives up there. She's 2 years older than me.
That's remarkable. And your father took that task on.
Yes, and he turns 87 in a couple of weeks. So he was 84 when we started. And when people saw this film last night, it was the US premiere last night and it will screen today. They was wondering how we got my father up there, and I said he walked. Yeah, and he picked the mountains that we should walk and film.
And he was doing that ever since he was a child, right?
Yes, yes. So he's very fit and he's very strong, like physically and mentally.
What a wonderful thing. That's so emotional to do that with your parent. What a gift.
Yes, it is. Spending so much time with them. And you know, I'm going to share something with you, and that is that my mother passed away 6 weeks ago. And that was unexpected and very sudden. And it was the night when we had the premiere in Norway. We had 10 outdoor screenings in 10 of the most beautiful nature spots in Norway, from a lighthouse in the south to inside a cave in the mountain up north where the sun shines all through the night, you know. And we were in the valley, and it's 70, 80 people living there, but 600 came to see this outdoor screening. And I was there with my family and my parents. And we had this beautiful screening and feeling that we gave the gifts given to us from nature back to the mountains, to the fjords, to the glacier. And my parents got standing ovations and a lot of comments, and we had such a beautiful evening. But later that night, my mother suddenly, unexpected, got this stroke, and she died 2 days later. But in the movie, because it is nature and it is my parents and their love story, and they have really been, they have had something special and been together for 63 years. And they're sharing this in the film. But in the film she says that she prays to go first because she can't stand the thought of losing my dad. And he also says that he has been walking every day because he has promised his wife that he will be there until the end. So now, when this happened, it's hard to accept, but at the same time, I feel so grateful that we were able to do this. So, traveling with the film now, I couldn't do that the first weeks, but now I was in Toronto and I'm here to meet the US audience, and
Honored to have you.
I'm feeling very grateful for the gifts that they gave me and the nature gave me.
Well, Margaret, that's a wonderful story. I mean, it's something that it's a testimony to both your parents, and you really made something that their memory, both of them. I mean, their marriage is 63 years, incredible, and your father, with his relationship with you, traveling, in his footsteps, and then eventually, making the movie with him and listening to him and carrying both your parents in your heart is terrific, terrific. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to that because, whatever the relationship with your parents, to see something like this is really terrific. And you took the skill, all of your skills as a filmmaker, to really memorialize the story of your family, which is terrific, really nice. And it's just great. What's your next project? What are you going to do next?
I have some offers to do fiction films now, but in my heart it is documentaries. So I have a new documentary in development. Songs of Earth is a film about nature itself and the landscapes of home, about roots, about family, about belonging.
Right.
But it's most of all, it is a film about nature itself and what it can provide for us. And now I want to make a film about animals.
Oh, neat.
Yes, but for us to rediscover. Yeah.
It's true, because we're all connected, all beings.
Yes.
Whether it be a tree or the whales or,
Yeah.
the nature itself.
Yes.
And certainly you come from a beautiful country. Norway has fantastic, I mean, you turn around, you see the fjords, you see the forests, everything is terrific. And the people are a resource unto themselves. Well, I really am proud of you. You did a great job. Your parents should be very proud of your family. Margaret, U.S. premiere documentary feature. It's Songs of Earth. We highly recommend it, and thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to share with you that Norway picked this film as its candidate to run for a Best International Feature.
Oh, wow.
So we're making
What an honor.
history. It's the first time Norway selects a documentary.
Yeah, that's terrific.
So
That's a big deal. Big deal.
It is. So I will be back for the screening in the States for the months to come.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
a big deal. That's really amazing. I mean, that's historic.
It is.
It is
It
historic.
is.
Well, congratulations. That's great. Great
Thank you.
news. I'm here with the filmmaker of Shadow Brothers Sunday, the narrative short, and it's 15 minutes, and it's about a down-on-his-luck musician, which I think you played the musician,
Yes,
right?
correct.
And I'm here with the filmmaker and the writer
Yes.
and the star
Yeah.
of this great short movie. Welcome.
Thanks
Welcome
a
to
lot.
the festival.
Thanks very much.
And it's Alden, how do you pronounce that last name?
It's Aaron Reich.
Aaron Wright.
Yeah.
That's a great filmmaker's name.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Always in one.
Yeah.
So you're here, and what made you make this movie, first of all?
I was working on a story about brothers for a long time, and I wanted to write something about what happens in a family when one person becomes extremely successful, and the way that can get in the way of family relationships.
I know it
and
affected my
affect
brother and
people.
myself right over here.
Yeah, right.
It was awful. He was awful after that. It was terrible. But do you have brothers?
I have two stepbrothers, but it wasn't really about them. It was more kind of an amalgamation of different friendships of mine. Just a thing that happens, and I think a thing that happens in a sort of heightened way in Los Angeles, where there's so much awareness of who's successful and who's not, and
Right.
the way that people can sort of fall through the cracks or get left behind by that.
Yeah, that whole thing of rivalry between brothers.
Right.
Is, and then they say there's a quote that says if two brothers get along, they have the strength of a city. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
That's
and
great.
we've always believed that.
That's great.
And it's something that the city that we're thinking about isn't so successful, but it's pretty good.
Good. So the two of you have other siblings?
No.
Just the two of you. Nice.
We killed everybody else.
Right. Who's older?
I'm old.
Okay.
20 months older.
20 months?
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
20
nice.
months. You're almost like twins, but not really.
Right.
But we've always been close, and it's we understand the dynamic of,
Yes.
of brothers. And,
Yes.
You know, you always, when in doubt, you always turn to your brother for strength. You know?
Right. That's wonderful.
But I'm glad you made this
Beautiful.
movie. It's terrific.
Thanks.
And when you think of the target audience, what do you visualize?
I think anybody. I mean, I think of, I think that I love movies that are really about people and people's lives and what people go
And
through.
you've always been a good storyteller, right?
Not personally, not sitting here, as you I'm sure can tell, but I've always liked those kind of stories, character-driven, human. So everybody comes from a family of some kind. I think sort of anybody could relate to it. It was fun last night to see it with a different kind of audience. You know, a little older, a little more, sophisticated.
And the questions were.
Well, no one really asked any questions at the Q&A actually, so we didn't get any. But yeah, there was me and a few other films. There were about 5 films.
That's unusual because usually
Right.
it's a very vocal crowd here, if you could imagine, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's fun.
And you have like from the most inane questions to really
Yes.
like the deepest, like
Right.
what lens did you use when you did the close-ups?
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
Scene 3. And,
Right.
all right, I got it. But it's great. So now your training, were you film school trained or?
I went to school for acting. I did a lot of filmmaking in high school, and then a lot of my training came out of working as an actor for a long time.
Did the acting part of you help in the production part?
Very, very much so. Very much so. I mean, what you get as an actor, you have this huge advantage because you've been I've been working as an actor for like 15, 17 years or something.
Wow.
And I've gotten to be on all these different sets with all these different directors and have these great experiences. And so you pick up how you would like things to be done, the things you like, the things you didn't like, a kind of spirit to it that you feel in certain directors that you don't feel in others. And you try to do your sort of best cherry-picked, idealized version of what a film experience can be.
You really see it's an art form. It's something that,
Absolutely.
you're influenced by other artists and then you
Absolutely, yeah.
twist and turn it, make it your own.
Absolutely. I think if you approach it like that, then it can be, I think some people don't treat it like that, and therefore what they make isn't.
Well, if you look at it as a job, it's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm very excited about this. Shadow Brothers Sunday.
Yes.
Great title.
Thanks.
And your acting is terrific. Very good. And I think that we're looking forward to other things that you're going to do, which because
I appreciate it.
you certainly have the knack for it, which is good. So look for Alden Einwright.
Close. Aaron Wright.
Aaron Wright.
That's all right. You're not the first. You won't be the last.
And I'm from Brooklyn. I should get the
Where in Brooklyn?
Bensonhurst.
Okay, nice.
Where we had, growing up, we had the Cramdens next to us. So
Right.
they were loud, but they were a loving family. It was very nice. But it's great having you. Welcome to the festival.
Thanks very much.
Enjoy yourself, and thank you
will.
for being here. We're
Thank
honored to have
My
you.
pleasure.
For information about the films, tickets, and other things, go to hamptonsfilmfest.org and just log in. It's a great website, and it'll satisfy your every question.